Why don't we start off with when you were born, where you were born.
Wow, we're really going back there.
If you can remember your parents and when they were born, where they were born, if you can remember it.
Oh,
Go
I
ahead.
can do that.
I can't. Go ahead.
My mother was born on February 10th, 1927 in Camden, New Jersey. Her mother was born February 28th, 1902 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My dad, I guess I should say Virginia Ellen Saul, that's my mom. Her mom was Lotta Lee Albertson. My dad, John Elwood Joyce, was born March 4th, 1928 in Bridgeton, New Jersey. And his parents were Ella Mae Dennis and Milton Emil Joyce. And I'm not sure about their birthdays right off. I think she was born in May. My grandfather's name was Armand John Saul, and I'm not positive enough of his birthday to give it to you. I was born November 2nd, 1952 in San Bernardino, California at around 11 o'clock at night. I had, from what I've been reported, I don't recall all this. I do know that my doctor was Dr. Burton. I was born in a very small hospital called Laurel Hospital on E Street. And I had jaundice, and I was born with forceps. My dad was born with forceps too, from what I understand. My mom came out okay. Both my parents are only children, and all my grandparents except my grandfather Joyce were only children too. So I don't have any aunts, any uncles, or any first cousins anyway, let's put it that way. And I grew up on 4908 Mountain View Avenue in San Bernardino until I went away to school and joined the church. And we attended the Baptist church because that's where my dad attended. My mom went to the Methodist church because when she was a baby, that was the only church my grandparents could take her to that she didn't cry in. So that's the story. That's the and that's been verified by my grandmother. She told me that was true. So my dad was a pretty good churchgoer. And we went to church pretty regularly when I was little.
Did your mom go with you guys to the Baptist church?
When we were little, she did. And then, and I right now I can't remember exactly when she stopped going, but my dad would go. He would sing in the choir. He liked to sing in the choir. And so he would go even though my mom and the rest of us didn't go until later when we were older. So that's what I remember. Your turn.
I was born in Grants Pass, Oregon. My mom and dad were born sometime, but I don't know when. You will have to do some genealogy. I mean, we have it, they just have to look it up. My mom was raised very much a Baptist.
You know your dad was born in December.
Yes.
I know Dad was born in December.
Oh, good job.
And my dad, when he was young, went to church with Grandpa Stubbs. Grandpa Stubbs leaned towards the Church of God, was committed and believed intensely in prayer for healing and that sort of thing. My dad did too, because he'd been healed several times when he was a young man. My grandfather was very much religious.
This is your Grandpa Stubbs.
Grandpa Stubbs. Most of my dad and my uncles were not so religious, although they believed in God for the most part. So I grew up in the Baptist church. Dad very rarely went to church, almost never, except if we were doing a presentation, Christmas or various special things, he would come. We always went with Mom. She was one of those very valiant women who holds the line and is very, very faithful. She was very much a Martha. Always faithful, always diligent, always doing, always helping.
Always serving.
Pardon?
Always serving.
Always serving, yes. Mostly, I don't remember her doing all that much at church, although she did from time to time, but very much in the family and in other things. That was the case. I was motivated to go to church most emphatically because Dad's view was if you went to church, that you should rest on the Sabbath day and keep the Sabbath day holy. But if you weren't going to go to church, then you should stay home and work, and he had plenty of work for us to do. And it didn't take very long for us boys to figure out whether it was better to go to church with Mom or whether it was better to clean out chicken pens with Dad. We figured that out real quick. So we went to church all the time. Now, what question are we on now? Have we started?
So your dad was the primary driver of religion, and your mom
Absolutely.
was the primary.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Although Dad very much believed in God, had tremendous faith, and I remember being blessed, not by him, but by my grandfather, and Dad having total confidence that I would be healed by him. And knew it for sure because he had been healed when he was stabbed once, when he had an anvil dropped through his foot and other things. He was healed outright by the prayers of his dad. And he believed.
Now you're.
But it didn't translate into going to church. It may have been because Mom was so strong a Baptist, and he probably was more in line with the Church of God, but he just didn't do. He didn't drink hardly at all. He smoked.
Drink coffee.
He drank coffee, but that in the Baptist church is not a problem. But
smoking wasn't either.
that's where he was.
Now you didn't know your other grandparents, because
No.
your mom's
Mom's father died, mother died when she was a little baby,
like 2 weeks old.
and her father, I don't know how all of this transpired, but basically he let the kids be raised by Ella. My grandmother's name was Zella, but I knew Grandma Ella as my grandma because
She's the one raised.
she's the one that raised my mom. And they were...
So there's Zella and Ella,
Mm-hmm.
and Zella died.
Yep.
That was your grandmother.
Yep, and Ella raised the kids.
And his grandfather worked on a ranch and couldn't take care of the
The girls.
kids. There was 3 of them, And so, and I think that was a fairly common practice to have family raise kids if the mother dies in those times. So I don't
Yeah.
think it was an uncommon thing, just,
And he was named Young. Was his last name.